Look at the XG timeline of Liverpool's 2-2 away draw at Aston Villa, and there are two big clues as to why they failed to win. Not only this, but there were two standout players from Aston Villa that were crucial to picking apart Liverpool's press and one of the best defensive teams in Europe. Welcome to A Game of Two Halves, where we blend football data with tactical analysis for the ultimate football breakdowns. We're nearly there. 1,000 subscribers, guys. That's what we're trying to get to, and we're only 60 subscribers away from doing so. So if you love the tactical breakdowns, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below what you think of this video after the analysis, and let's jump straight into it. Now, if we look at the expected goals timeline from the game, there's two clear moments that we have to pay attention to from a Liverpool perspective. Right after Aston Villa's goal, on the 38th minute, you can see a large increase for Liverpool, and then in the 68th minute, again, after Trent Alexander-Arnold's goal, you can see an even larger increase, and both of these are Jota's miss and Nunez's miss from the game. And if we look at the total XG from the game, Liverpool had an XG of 2.44, Aston Villa 0.75, and Aston Villa were just far more clinical in the game. They had more chances even towards the end of the game, a lot of little counter opportunities. I know Marlon had a couple of shots on goal, but I think this is the kind of situation where you're expecting Liverpool to be more clinical, especially from the two chances that we've mentioned. But even generally, Liverpool had 17 shots on goal, 37.1% is their average shots on target percentage, and in this game it was 17.6, drastically down from their season average. And if you look at Jota's chance, lovely ball from Robertson in behind, and this is what they were doing all game. Jones playing in that left midfielder role, but he was tucking in to that central area, trying to overload those central zones for Aston Villa. McGinn didn't kind of know what to do with that, because he already had Szoboszlai, Jota dropping in, and it was overloading that central area. But even with Jota, he was pulling out to these wide zones, especially down this left-hand side, trying to catch that Aston Villa high line unaware. Disasi's trying to keep him offside, but Mings behind him, just not coordinating with his centre-back to keep, that high defensive line and play Jota offside. Jota spins in behind, and then from this position, what do you expect? You have to be hitting the target. He has comfortable control of the ball. Disasi's nowhere near making an impact on him. And he's just trying to bend it into that bottom or top right-hand corner. I couldn't tell you what he's trying to do, because if you see where it ends up, he skews this so wide of the goal, it's just hard to believe, especially when you're watching it live. How did he get this so wide? And I think that's the kind of situation where you have to be putting it away. Aston Villa have just scored, and I think they can capitalise on that and just, get back to 2-1, put the pressure back on Aston Villa, because they were playing well in that first half. And on to the 68th minute, and again, the importance of this situation for Nunez's miss. Missing an open goal from this situation is insane. Even under the pressure of Disasi, you've got that situation now where you're 2-2, you just got back into the game with Trent Alexander-Arnold's finish, and deflected finish as well at that. But this situation here, a lovely little ball cross from Szoboszlai, who was played in by Conor Bradley, and you just have to be putting this away. And we've seen this from Nunez. I think he's coming for some criticism after the game. I think you saw him smiling with Martinez, and I can understand that. And he has, history of this. He's just not efficient in front of goal, and it does seem to be a bit of waste of money from Liverpool, paying the fee that they did. You want someone to be clinical by now. I think it's his third season at Liverpool, and you just have to be putting chances like this away. And this is a tricky situation for Arne Slot, because the underlying data seems to be still good for Liverpool this season. I've broken down the data from the start of the season all the way up to the Man City game, and in the games from Newcastle up until the Aston Villa game of last night. And I think you can see a clear difference in the goals conceded in particular. The XG has increased from 2 to 2.5 on average this season. So they're increasing the amount of sort of chances they're creating and the quality of those chances as the season has progressed. And then the XG against only really slightly increased from 0.9 in that first phase of the season up to Man City to 1 goal per game sort of against them in that second half from the Newcastle game. But it's the goals conceded that's increased dramatically. 0.6 goals conceded in that sort of first stint up into the Man City game. But after that game, the average goals conceded has gone up to 1.4. And you can see there's just a clinical nature to the teams they're facing, from that Newcastle game onwards. I think they have to address this now moving forward to sustain that title challenge and still be favourites for the title. Now, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button to support the channel. Aston Villa fans, Liverpool fans, leave down below in the comments, what did you make of your team's performance? Who were the standout players? And talking of standout players, there's 2 players that I'm going to analyse from Aston Villa. Now, step forward, John McGinn and Youri Tielemans. And we're talking about press-resistant players players that can unlock the defensive unit of another team, then these two, in differing ways, are some of the best in the Premier League. If you look at the average positions from Aston Villa in the game and the passing connections and the strength of those passing connections between each player, you've got the back four, but in that double pivot of Tielemans, who's number 8, and McGinn, number 7, look at how strong those passing connections are between pretty much every player on the pitch for Aston Villa. You know, they have such strong ability to find a space, carry the ball through the pitch, or just maneuver around the high press that Liverpool were creating in the game. Now, they did it in different ways, and we'll start off with John McGinn. He likes to invite that physical pressure. He likes to feel the player behind him, use that physicality, has such a low centre of gravity. And you can see as Mings has the ball here, Liverpool trying to camp Aston Villa down that side. They do really well to just get them bodies in and around those Aston Villa players. But as the ball progresses, Mings plays that ball into McGinn. And Curtis Jones tries to cut off the other half of the pitch, tries to stop them recycling it down that right-hand side to Garcia, right back. But what he does is he opens that kind of central zone for McGinn to spin. Now, not every player would spin here. And I think that's what Jones maybe doesn't have that awareness of McGinn's ability. Because he has no problem feeling out Jones, using that physicality to bump him, and then start driving forward through the middle of the pitch. And it's not happy just to kind of create a couple of yards separation from Curtis Jones. He then drives directly through Liverpool's midfield, has that little extra burst of acceleration and power to get beyond Szoboszlai and McAllister, who arrives late on the cover. But I think that's the kind of situation that has happened numerous times in the game. McGinn's comfortable handling that ball under pressure. And Youri Tielemans did the same thing, but just without the physicality. He used that movement, that shift, feint ability to get away from a player. And you can see that in the example that come up next. Liverpool have initiated the high press. Curtis Jones came from that left midfield spot, pressed Disasi, and then goes to press Martinez on the ball. Martinez then passes it out to Mings, and you can see the trigger of the press from Liverpool, trying to lock them in down that right-hand side. And Salah then goes to press Mings, and Conor Bradley is already on his way to press, I think it's Luca Dean at left back. And I think as the ball progresses, you can see Tielemans just drifting. You can see the amount of space around him. He's great at just being able to pick up a nice area of the pitch where there's not really that many players around. But it's what he does when he handles that ball under pressure. And as Dean passes that ball into Tielemans, who makes a little run into that space just to help Dean on the ball, you can see that I think it's Szoboszlai coming in on his blind side. He does a little Cruyff turn to get away from him. And then you can see the tricky situation he has. Surrounded by 3 Liverpool players, not many players can have that composure to still handle the ball, know what's around them, and still be able to maneuver their way out of this press. But Tielemans takes that little Cruyff turn away from Szoboszlai. Jones does well to try and press him and win the ball back, but he just does a little shimmy and feint, left foot, right foot, away from Curtis Jones, and then he's out, playing that ball out to Martinez, and they're able to recycle the ball. Now, this isn't a major highlight. It doesn't make the highlights of match of the day, but I think these are the kind of situations that someone like Tielemans and the value he brings to a team is so great to see. And he recycles that ball out to Martinez, and they play that ball out wide, and then you see the options to progress the ball up the pitch later on. Now, Tielemans, I think, won man of the match, and it was deserved. He had the second highest touches in the game. He won the most tackles, tied with McAllister on 5 tackles, scored the first goal, generally had an accomplished performance on the ball, still manages to win his duels. With those kind of players, you think, are they going to be someone that we carry during the game? Doesn't put in the tackles, doesn't put in the physical side of the game. He has such a great engine in terms of the stamina. And I was surprised to see he's only 27, turning 28 in May. He's just reached that peak form, that perfect age. He's accomplished, knows how to play in his position, and he brings such value to that Aston Villa team. Now, even when everything's not going great for Liverpool, they still scored 2 goals away at Aston Villa. Their expected goals was high in the game. They should have put away those 2 chances earlier on in the game and with Nunez later on in the game. And I think generally their defence was okay during the game. I think Aston Villa caused them more problems than other teams maybe have caused them. But I think it's that goals conceded. They're not conceding a higher value of XG against, compared to earlier on in the season. It's only a small increase from 0.9 to 1 expected goal against per game. But I think the goals conceded, they have to just be a bit more efficient in terms of preventing the team scoring goals. But generally, Liverpool are still on track. And a point away at Aston Villa is nothing to shirk at. It's still a good point. And then they got that big game against Arsenal that swings things in their favour because it's at home. If they can pick up 3 points there, directly taking points off Arsenal, they'll be in a great position later on in the season. But again, great game in the Premier League, back and forth. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out some of my other videos from Premier League analysis, and I'll see you on the next game of the 2 halves.